of what you're getting, the big picture here, we're seeing damage all over the area. Do you have a comprehensive list of what we're seeing?
Well, you know, I don't have a comprehensive list other than the significant damage, of course, to the freeways that we've been talking about most of the morning. 14 freeway is closed out San Fernando Road. 10 freeway is down at Fairfax. 118 is closed at Balboa. There seems to be some problem on the South 405 at Rinaldi. And then the southbound 14 at the 5 freeway.
Lieutenant, the accident that occurred out on the 14...
recent construction.
Doctor, would you say that many people who have weathered an earthquake in the past in the San Fernando Valley, maybe a 6-point earthquake, because it was farther away, now they're finding that they may have a lot more damage in their homes?
Well, this quake did happen, well, the San Fernando earthquake happened, the epicenter was in an fairly unpopulated area underneath the mountains, and then the fault ruptured up into Sylmar. So there was damage at the base of the mountains in Sylmar, San Fernando. The people south of that in the valley were a little bit removed from the activity. But in this case, the epicenter is right below Northridge. So this whole populated area of the San Fernando Valley was very close to this fault. So there will be more damage in this earthquake in the main part of San Fernando Valley than there was in
I got another helicopter.
And it's also much more populated now than it
As
was.
Dr. Kate Hutton is talking about more damage in the San Fernando Valley, it appears Captain Ron has certainly found some.
The freeways at that time that were being built fell down up in the northern San Fernando Valley, but now, you know,
get you back to the
5 and the 14 connect, the 14 collapsed at that point.
Right. Okay, we're going to dump out of this news conference. You got the main thrust of what was going on there at Caltech as we are learning more of the technical items, the technical story of how this earthquake did the damage that it did, but I think the real story is the picture that you're seeing here, which is in Northridge.
Captain Ron, we're looking at, I believe, the Northridge Mall and the parking structure, which seems to have pancaked. Seems to have collapsed.
Yes.
Well, I see some emergency vehicles there. Once again, we're hoping that because of the time in the morning that there wasn't much traffic in this area, and perhaps we'll get away lucky again on this structure as well. But the magnitude of our luck is just beginning to sink home, too, as we look at these parking structures all over the north end of the valley, which have collapsed on themselves, and it just shatters you to think what might have happened had there been people just arriving in cars or just getting out.
And Ann?
Yes, we're talking to you, Ron. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're up with Van Nuys, and you can imagine it's quite busy. This is the Northridge Fashion Center, and what we're looking at here is one of the parking structures that has completely been destroyed. Now, there's major damage to the Sears building, but probably the worst that we see out here in this fashion center by far is the Bullocks. And we'll pan over there right now, and we'll give you an idea of just exactly what used to be Bullocks. This building has completely collapsed. The walls here on the west side have fallen down. You can look directly into the store itself, and there's just major damage. I'm sure that this building is completely gone. And as we look throughout this fashion center, we can see cracked columns and windows broken everywhere. But by far, this Bullocks Fashion Center is the worst that we've seen by far. Now, earlier we were showing that there are a lot of officials out here that are watching this thing, and hopefully there's nothing hazardous that is out here that is leaking.
Yeah, you can see some folks that are over there close to that one hopper car that spilled the white material, but of course it's the tank cars that we would really be worried about here, and in any other circumstance, you would have a major response here by environmental cleanup crews and everything else to make sure that this is not something toxic. We don't know that. But in this circumstance, with so much damage all over the place because of the earthquake, it's impossible for all those crews to get to a location like this because they're dealing right now with life and death situations in so many collapsed buildings and parking structures. But they're on the Southern Pacific Main Line tracks. They're just south, I would assume. Is that just south of the Northridge Fashion Center?
Yes, that's just south of Nordhoff, and if we can pan just a little to the left, or actually right in the center of our screen, that's a Best store that's on the south side of Nordhoff, just west of Tampa, And as you can see, the entire backside of this best store has collapsed, and even part of the roof has collapsed out here, right where the train derailed.
Ron, I was struck to see what happened to those railroad tracks. If you pan just over there, you're a camera person.
It's a little higher.
At one point, the tracks actually have sort of bobby pinned. They've pinched together, and then they're wide again and pinched together. And when you imagine the kind of force that it takes to bend steel that way, it's very sobering to look at that train track.
And of course, that's reflective of all the damage that I'm seeing in this immediate area.
And there's a big spill of something, one of those tank cars you were talking about, Gene, right there to the left.
Yeah, it has definitely spilled its load, at least one of those tank cars, and it's fortunately it's not flowing anyplace. It's sort of reservoired there in that little gully next to the train tracks, but we do not know what sort of material is there. I see some people walking around. Is that the Fire 5, the fellow that got out of the Fire 5?
No, he just took off, so that would be some of the officials, hopefully train officials, that are looking at this thing right there. But it is corralled, and by the fact that they're walking that close to it is good news, hopefully, because if it was a real hazardous material, then they probably wouldn't be that close to it.
Indeed, and we see some spectators there on the wall just to the south, too, and they're looking at it, and they seem to be all right. So hopefully this is nothing toxic, and I think from our viewpoint here and your viewpoint, we can see that it probably is not.
Your point was an excellent one, though. We've looked now in the course of the last couple of hours at a dozen major tragedies, you know, major problems, and we always say, you know, in the event of an earthquake, don't expect emergency people to be able to get to your neighborhood maybe for a couple of days. Well, this is why, because we have just a vast amount of severe damage and people trapped underneath buildings and spills on railroads and freeways that have collapsed, and it's really well, it's
one of those circumstances. Where do you start first?
You just
Where do you start first? And of course, where you start first is where there is a threat to life.
That's exactly
and those are the folks that are trapped or injured in buildings that have collapsed. That's where they are starting first.
And that's where we've seen them.
If it hasn't collapsed in your neighborhood, it's going to be a while before they get there.
And so the water power and railroad car problems are not getting the immediate attention because we're still saving lives. Art Rascone is at a hospital in the valley. Let's let him take it away. Art.
Over here at the Granada Hills Hospital, this is the Kaiser Emergency Permanente place. There are about 24 people standing outside of this hospital. They have not been able to receive medical attention. In fact, this hospital is calling for extra doctors to come to this area. They've had to evacuate the inside of the hospital, portions of it, the bottom floor especially, because there are about 2 inches of water around the floor of the hospital. As well, we have several of the people out here. You mind if we talk to you for a moment, sir? Would that be all right? Russell, why don't we come on over here and explain your situation.
Well, we were sleeping, and all of a sudden our apartment started shaking, and we just jumped up, and we couldn't see anything. It was too dark, and we started running towards the frame of the door, and we just stood there for a while until it kind of stopped, and we ran out of the apartment in front of the building.
Okay, obviously you're injured. Looks like you have some cuts on the faces. Have you not been able to get medical help?
Not yet. We're waiting still to get in because they take in the most, the emergency cases. Yeah. We don't even know what hit him. It was too dark.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck, okay? If you look around...
Complex, it is now 2 stories. The first level has totally collapsed. And this unit here is just representative of the units that you will see from here all the way to the back. There are 4 units just like this.